everyone. My name is Ravi. I'm the co-founder CEO of Zeeve. And today we have a very exciting session as part of Web3 Voice, unlocking the potential of Web3 gaming. And today on this session, we have Idon, who is the Chief Blockchain Officer at Pentagon Games. And we have Osman, who is the Senior Manager at Polygon Labs. So first, I would like to welcome Osman and Idon. Hi, Idon. Hi, Osman.
Hello, it's great to be here. Good to
Nice
see you
to be
again,
here.
Dr. Ravi.
Yes, I think we would love to, get some introduction, so we can start with that. Idon, if you can talk about how you started your Web3 journey, what you did before that, and how your journey has been so far.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I guess probably chronologically, I'll talk a little bit about where I come from. I guess I spent quite a bit of time in hardware. I did a computer engineering at University of Toronto. Then I worked for several tech companies, including Microsoft, Cisco Systems, mainly on the chip side. And then from that, I kind of went into the hardware-wide cryptocurrency mining. That's about almost like 9 years ago. Then I think that's when EVM, but smart contracts started to surface. As a computer engineer, there was a lot of love for video games and creating video games from the past. Decided to go into Web3 gaming. Created one of the earliest fully on-chain game on Ethereum, and subsequently just keep building. So today, as part of Pentagon Games, we own multiple IPs within the Web3 space, on the oldest IP in the space. But otherwise, we're putting together a new what we call interactive cinematic platform, which will change, I would say, web and probably also television entertainment in the future, but built on a blockchain infrastructure. So yeah, so that's my intro.
Cool. Osman, a bit intro about yourself.
Totally. I done super cool story. Not sure if my story is as cool, but I'll give it a shot here. So I come from financial services industry. I was a management consultant there for a while, and the whole idea of crypto disintermediating a lot of processes that take place in the financial world was super interesting to me. I come from an engineering background as well. So the use case that brought me into the space, actually a little bit different than Idon, is stablecoins. I think to date they're one of the best, one of the, I guess, most adopted use case that we're talking about in this industry. And I actually did a bunch of different things before joining Polygon. I did some freelancing. I quickly did a quick stint at Terra, which did not take too long, and joined Polygon a few years ago. And at Polygon, I've been an early member at the growth team. And in the growth team, we specialize in different areas. My specialization has been in the infrastructure space. So I work with rollup as a service providers like Zeeve, and I ensure that their Polygon journey is successful. I create a win-win scenarios, and I help Polygon ecosystem flourish with the help of providers like Zeeve, while at the same time helping Zeeve drive top line and hit their success metrics. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Idon. Thanks, Osman. So just to give a brief about me, I've been into IT space for almost 25 years now. Started my journey with the .com in 98. Post that, I did a bit of consulting, startup consulting, working a lot of Silicon Valley startups to convert their vision into a product. Then I got into fintech space. Was in fintech for almost 9 to 10 years, into SME lending. Before I got into blockchain in 2017. Started with enterprise protocols. And while working with a lot of enterprises who are looking to embrace blockchain or try out blockchain, we realized an opportunity in the infrastructure side. There was a massive cost overhead and operational challenges while deploying and managing a blockchain network. I'm talking about the initial times with Fabric, Besu, R3 Coda. So that's where, we started Zeeve about 4 years back with the intent to, bring in automation, security, compliances, all the necessary infrastructure tool set, which we are used to in the Web2 space, but they were pretty much non-existent in the Web3. So that is what the motivation was to start Zeeve, and we migrated from my early startup called Sofocal in the blockchain space to Zeeve. And last 4 years, we have been purely into managed Web3 infrastructure, supporting various stacks, and Polygon being one of our very close stack, starting with supporting dedicated node infra in the Polygon ecosystem to Polygon Edge, then Supernets, and then, CDK, and of course, the latest, the buzz is all about AggLayer. And we are very much excited to, partner with Polygon. So coming up, so this was my brief intro. So coming back to, Web3 gaming, I think Web3 gaming is something we have seen in last 1.5 years. Massive uptake. I think as far as gaming platforms coming on, the public chain was already there for quite a few years. But a trend started about a year back where we started seeing a lot of publishing platforms launching their own chains. And I think Pentagon Games, again, is one such platform, which is not just into gaming, but they are also bringing the flavor of metaverse and the overall user experience. So, Idon, if you can share, how Pentagon Games decided to transition from a public chain to your own custom gaming-focused Polygon CDK based chain.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So just as a little bit of recap background. So we did adopt several L2 chains. So we definitely was a part of that. So now one of the reasons why we decided to move to our own chain specifically is at this time we're creating a permission chain, which we're using this to support content that can be regulated for age and region. So what we actually mean by that is we're still trying to keep a decentralized ethos through the bridges. So what we're doing is we're still bringing NFTs, enabling those to come into our ecosystem once they are essentially approved for the specific rating that we're allowing them to bring in. Now, when I say keeping decentralized, which means if I need to disable or ban an item or an NFT or collection, I don't destroy them, right? Or I don't, force to pause them by essentially move them back across the bridge. So that's kind of one reason why we have I would say it's kind of somewhere between a public to I would say semi or permission chain environment, but still at the same time, the core is I don't want to ever be in too much control so that I can essentially prevent or destroy assets. So that's kind of what we're trying to do. Now, a big shift for that was also moving from a pure Web3 only focus infrastructure to also a infrastructure which we can also allow Web2 people, Web2 games and stuff, which some of the bigger titles, they have a stronger requirement for age control content or a region control content. So our ecosystem sort of enables support for that. So that's why we kind of really needed a separate chain of our own. At the same time, of course, the performance side is we do need more consistent performance. So which means we can kind of bar or rate each of the application that's coming in to make sure none of them is really eating up way too much resource, which could cause rest of the the network to go down. Because even if you look at some of the biggest and most recent chain like Ton Network, right? A coin called Dogs came out, and all of a sudden everything congested, and Ton Network actually doesn't scale, right? I think it was like 5-6 months ago. Solana, the game was crashed because some meme coin came out. So I think a purely a permissionless chain does run into that issue. So we're trying to balance the two. So which means keeping this permission initially so that we can roll out and with all the proper content in a regulated environment. So that's kind of what we have to work with. And lastly, we of course the ZK backed security was very important that we end up picking the ZK stack over a Cosmos. Mainly because the ZK security backup to Ethereum was very critical for our choice.
Right. So I think, Idon, you have mentioned some very exciting motivations to choose or go for your own custom chain or custom rollup. So you mentioned about having permissioning or data privacy. So some bit of control, which is again use case specific, but not to centralize the system. The rollup chain itself would be decentralized, but still you would have some permissioning options. And second, you mentioned about user experience. You also mentioned about ZK-based security, ZK-based proof, which is of course one of the most cutting-edge technological innovation in the blockchain space today, bringing mathematical-based security rather than human-based economic security. And then you also mentioned about performance, which again I think it becomes very important because dedicated block space is required. And we have seen that one NFT CryptoKitty is launched and suddenly the gas prices are shooting up and people are fighting with each other to get their transactions confirmed. So of course, from all these perspectives, having your custom chains makes a lot of sense. And I think we have covered almost more than 50% of the motivations that we hear from various startups, why they want to choose a rollup chain. So Osman, how does Polygon CDK is helping startups like Pentagon Games when they have these kind of requirements while conceptualizing their launch? So how Polygon CDK is helping, and then of course a bit about AggLayer as well. How it is adding. I would say there's a lot of fragmentation which is happening in the modular ecosystem. How AggLayer is abstracting the chain ecosystem as well as providing or defragmenting it. Osman, you are on mute.
Totally. That's a loaded question, by the way, so I'll try to dissect that into a few parts. I'll first talk about why ZK rollups and how ZK rollups are kind of different than other types of rollups, and then specifically why CDK, and then we can talk a little bit about AggLayer. So in terms of how Polygon CDK is helping teams like Pentagon, you mentioned dedicated block space. That's very important. If you are a high throughput application, there may be a very strong business case for you to move to your own chain environment. This is not super different than the optimistic setup. In all honesty, all rollups kind of start from this business case. What's different for ZK rollups is a couple of things. Actually, probably we can summarize it in 2 points. First is instant finality. With ZK rollups, you're mathematically proving that each transaction is indeed processed in the correct way that the system is expecting. Because of this, you can prove that when a transaction is kind of done, it's final, which for high throughput applications like games is a very strong feature to kind of benefit from. So that's, I think, one very big differentiator for ZK rollups over other types of rollups. And I would say the second is for security. In a ZK rollup environment, you have mathematical guarantees that a transaction is valid. And you don't have a process where you give a certain amount, you leave a certain amount of time once a transaction, when a user finalizes transaction, for that transaction to be actually systematically be finalized. Because of how ZK rollups work and the mathematical guarantees that come with it, there's much less need for external monitoring, for fraud detection, and for that reason there's less risk for cheating and things like that. So that's how overall instant finality and security are reasons why teams like Pentagon are choosing ZK rollups. And specifically for Polygon CDK, it boils down to, I would say, Polygon's early bet in ZK. So just to give some context, Polygon has been a blockchain Ethereum scaling company since 2020. The initial solution was Polygon POS, which was a side chain, which kind of worked super well. It's still one of the most used chains out there. But then it became clear that the next phase of Ethereum scaling was about ZK. And even optimistic rollups are moving into that space. But Polygon took this jump from a side chain to building ZK chains early on. And I think like the reason why Polygon CDK is tempting for teams like Pentagon is we have a really robust zero knowledge research and product development team. We have the likes of Brendan Farmer, Paul Gebheim. These guys have been in this space for a very long time, and I think that kind of reflects itself in the products as well. Polygon CDK was the first operational ZK rollup stack, and we at this point we have around 8 to 9 Polygon CDK chains on mainnet, and we do expect that this number to grow. We're constantly listening feedback from builders like Pentagon, and we're improving the Polygon CDK stack on kind of eliminating the parts that are unnecessary, because sometimes ZK rollups have additional features that may not, meeting the needs, the immediate needs of the chain builders. And also, like, by listening feedback, we're constantly improving the product. And I think we have this great combination of zero knowledge know-how as well as product development experience. And I think the combination of that is attracting teams like Pentagon. I know I spoke a lot, but I hope that gave kind of like the overall reason why you would go to ZK rollup and why CDK.
No, absolutely. I think, Idon, what are your views in terms of selecting CDK as the stack of choice for launching your rollup chain?
Yeah, there's definitely I think there's a few reasons. I think one of the bigger one is we've been working with Polygon from pretty much day one. And, actually we would, aside from, we within our ecosystem, we actually run a 2 Polygon validator of the 105. So we have kind of that a natural tendency to look a lot more at the Polygon tech. When we look at all the technology over the past, I would say 3 years, we have worked with pretty much all other chains that came out, right? Avalanche, Multiverse X, Sway, Solana, so pretty much across the ecosystem. First of all, I think EVM compatibility was still very, very important, because I think even POS wasn't 100% compatible. So when the Polygon team came out to do ZK EVM, that was 100% compatible to Ethereum. So I think that was a major choice. I think even ZK Sync was not 100% compatible to ZK EVM. So for the benefit of the doubt, because it's not everyone fully understand all the nuances, so to guarantee everything is just going to work, then the best choice for all the program is just, well, it's 100% ZK EVM compatible. So so that was one major reason for that. So both, I would say, technical reason, but also kind of because we've been working very closely with the Polygon team, and just that across the validation network, we know they have an excellent team, have the ability to execute, excellent leadership. So it's a combination of factors. But of course, one other thing is, because we're hearing all these other chains adopting the CDK, right? I think Immutable X is on it, Aavegotchi is on it, I think Nia is on it. So just like you kind of want to be on that bandwagon, especially about the AggLayer, which will help with the native interoperability. So I think that's going to be a very, very, very critical part for us.
Right. No, absolutely. So now coming to, if you see, while somebody wants to launch their own rollup, there are various components. So one is the rollup stack, and we have Osman and Idon both have talked at length about, ZK rollup stack and specifically Polygon CDK, which makes it super, super easy to deploy your own rollup chain. And it comes with a certain set of core components which enable you to launch your rollup. But at the same time, all these stacks are pretty new. The technologies are new. There's a huge learning curve for any startup to launch something on their own. And then in addition to that, startups do require different other integrations, different other features, depending on their use case. So there are various startups like in the gaming space and in DeFi space who look for account abstraction. And there are startups who are looking for interoperability bridges from day one, right? Or support for alternate data availability, because having Ethereum as your data layer becomes super expensive. even with blobs, it's still pretty expensive. So and that's where a player like Zeeve, rollup as a service player, comes in. And I think Osman, since you are working very closely with the rollup as a service teams, so what is your take on the importance of having a Raas player to partner with somebody who is planning to launch their own rollup chain?
Yeah, very good question. I think rollup as a service is one of the proven business models in the industry so far. The reason why it makes sense is, historically, when you look at building and maintaining your own chain, it required teams. Like really, we're talking about tens of employees and team members and contributors to actually build the chain, maintain the chain, and then grow an ecosystem around it. So I would say rollup as a service providers have this know-how of launching chains at scale. And through that experience, there are some repeatable patterns. And these repeatable patterns are kind of like win-win. They not only help rollup as a service providers launch more chains at scale, but at the same time, they kind of take away the operational burden from the chain builders to build their own chains. So at a very high level, working with a rollup as a service is a very common decision that we see in the industry from Polygon builders. I would say majority of the chain builders end up working with the rollup as a service providers unless they are building their own chain as an additional side business to their existing chain, or there may be some other scenarios as well. But we do see a lot of adoption from Polygon builders to work with rollup as a service providers. One particular thing from our working model, from Polygon's working model with rollup as a service providers, was that for Polygon, it also made a lot of sense to work with rollup as a service providers, because the idea is that as Polygon is building the base protocol, which is very technical, requires a lot of testing, a lot of product research, a lot of auditing. On top of that, you have to go out and implement it, because even though you have all the documentation out there and theoretically anyone can go and use your documentation to build a chain, it doesn't really work that way. We're still talking about a pretty technical stack. That's where we as Polygon benefited a lot from collaborating with rollup as a service providers like Zeeve, because these providers we worked very closely with, and we kind of equipped all of these providers with the technical know-how of solving the issues and the interesting challenges of building a CDK rollup, and we that helped us basically solve customer problems at scale, implement rollups at scale, and that was this created a very good flywheel. So Polygon could focus on building the protocol as well as some other activities to grow the ecosystem, so that the chains that rollup as a service providers end up having an ecosystem once they're on mainnet. And I actually, Ravi, you asked about AggLayer in your previous question, and maybe we can leave that to a little bit later. But now with the AggLayer vision, which is essentially the vision that brings together all of the historical Polygon protocols like POS, ZK, EVM, and various CDK chains. Rollup as a service providers play a very key role as well. If you ask how, very simply, for AggLayer to benefit, there needs to be more chain. For AggLayer to make sense, there needs to be more chains attached to it, so that network effects kick in. And at this point, rollup as a service providers play a very key role, because they kind of get into the weeds of AggLayer and get into the weeds of each chain, and they figure out, rollup as a service providers figure out the intricacies of attaching AggLayer chains to the AggLayer. And we do foresee that the more chains are attached to the AggLayer, these intricacies will be a pattern for rollup as a service providers. So these intricacies will get lower as well. But that's kind of like how we're also thinking about working with rollup as a service providers like Zeeve in the future as well.
Got it. No, I think that's an excellent input. So the way we see it, AggLayer is something very, very interesting, especially as we are seeing that around rollup stacks, various ecosystems are building within the Ethereum ecosystem. And I believe that if you talk to anyone, any of the ecosystem, nobody even thought of, creating these separate ecosystems. Because end of the day, the whole purpose of bringing scalability is not at the cost of liquidity. Liquidity is the heart and soul of the ecosystem. And until unless we have a seamless interoperability among these different ecosystems, the whole modular ecosystem and the scalability solution that we have come up with is going to fail. And that's where I think AggLayer fits in very well, because it's not just serving various CDK rollups, but now rollups or app chains built using any of the stack can still utilize AggLayer and bring in cross-chain liquidity, which I think is the most exciting proposition that we see from AggLayer. And I believe that we since we started our journey with building app chain stacks and then rollup stacks for last 1 year, so we are already working with almost all these stacks which are available, all formalized, structured frameworks which are available in the market. We are working with them. So I think that again make us very, very excited about the whole AggLayer proposition, because I can already see customers across different app chain stacks who can potentially use AggLayer and be part of Ethereum and enjoy the common set of liquidity. So, Idon, from your perspective, working with Zeeve, working with Rollup as a service, what were your motivation, and how has your experience so far?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. So first of all, I think one of the key point that I think Osman also mentioned is at scale, because if you are just playing around and not planning to go full production and planning to have a lot of traffic, I think it's fine running, your own chain. But expect, lots of delay. If there's an issue, it's going to take some time to figure it out and to resolve yourself. So we figured this fairly early on, right? So about 2.5 years ago, we started running an L2 chain. We got everything from the ground up, and having had lots of experience on running nodes, running validator, and then running our own chain, an L2 chain. But still, it still took our engineer, because they are not dedicated, full time. In terms of they do gaming and they do smart contract, and they try to they have lots of experience on server. Then learning how to run a blockchain infrastructure takes time, and they're not an expert to that. So when we run into the issue like, oh, this bridge didn't work, it took days and sometimes up to 2 weeks to get certain specific thing resolved. So I think therefore working with a rollup as a service provider like Zeeve really help us to feel a lot more comfortable to say, okay, when there's an issue, we have experts which have worked on this similar issue like many, many times, right? Rather than just a single point, because you guys have seen it happening all across the, in multiple different times. So I think that's, super critical in terms of, being very serious about bringing, because at the end of the day, we're not just talking about performance of the game. Once we bring people's liquidity, there's people's money waiting, waiting to cross the bridge, waiting for the funds to be released, and that cost them, cost of capital, right? Because they can't get access to it. So to be, very serious about your whole infrastructure and that confidence to roll out, definitely, feels like they have a big brother kind of covering your back for, having to work with a team like Zeeve. And other than that, of course, having met the both Dr. Ravi yourself and Thomas from the BD team, you guys are. I come from Silicon Valley, right? I worked with Cisco system for almost 10 years. I talked to all, the Intel, like all of the big company, the Texas Instrument, and I just feel like these guys are serious, right? These seems like a very big company coming from a very professional background. Isn't your typical Web3 project team. So you guys really feel like, you guys have an infrastructure background. And so this is likely definitely the right team to work with. So I think both, leadership, as well as obviously the service itself. And so far the journey has been excellent. I can't think of, better partners. And there's so much stuff that we can work on together going forward as well.
I think thanks, Idon. Thanks for your kind words. And I think we too are very excited, to partner with Pentagon Games. We believe it's a massive project, and especially the metaverse side, the gaming publishing side, it's super, super cool. So since we are coming at the end of our session, so Idon, any news you would like to share with us in terms of roadmap as to what we are going to see next coming from the Pentagon Games, and then we
Yeah.
can yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I just want to give for those who are not familiar with Pentagon Games. So Pentagon Games, we started as a metaverse-focused ecosystem with everything under the umbrella. Recently, we have some really cool new innovative technology, which we'll be revealing soon. It's actually already been reviewed in a TV show recording called Cryptonight.tv. So it'll be a reality TV show, which will be released in November. So in the back end, we're still an entire Metaverse UE5 based engine, but we have now made this entire engine accessible to pretty much any device, and it's VR capable. We call it interactive cinematic platform. So we believe it's going to be a major disruptor. It will enable pretty much all of your browser to be using, so your typical web browser can now be watching a 360 video stream that's interactive. We kind of think it's going to be like the future of entertainment. We've been actually talking to a lot of AAA game studio, and they're excited. They're like, "Well, what you guys are building, I have not seen before. Let's get you guys onto kind of your next cycle of marketing spend on pushing their product and feature." So it's going to replace web and maybe even replace the TV entertainment. But I think super exciting. Everything is back with everything we just talked about, which is all of these other stores and experiences. People can get all these little toys, NFTs, which is also in a regulated, age and region controlled environment. So yeah, super excited. I just want to share our social Pentagon Games XP. We have actually grown that from, for the past 3 months, all the way from I think less than 20K to almost 500K socials between our Telegram and our Twitter. So that's super exciting. Lots of great followers. We have an airdrop campaign that's happening on the incentive testnet. So Pentagon.Games, when you sign up, there's 5 badges you can get. It's all being dropped on the testnet. For the mainnet, we're essentially going to do a replacement. So all the NFTs you can already get by doing the missions. There's one particular one called Degen badge, which you have to do on-chain transactions to be able to get the faucet, switch the network, check out AMN. So yeah, I think it's gonna, I think it's everything working great, and they're looking forward to go mainnet and see you guys when we go mainnet around the middle of November.
I think that's awesome. So Osman, anything you would like to share? What are some exciting pieces coming from Polygon? And anything in general about Web3, what excites you, seeing the innovations happening in the next 6 months to 1 year?
Totally. So I want to start by, just re-emphasizing that AggLayer is basically how Polygon's vision of blockchain scaling is coming into play. And for that reason, AggLayer is definitely #1 focus for the Polygon Labs team. And actually what's interesting is that not just the Polygon Labs team at this point around. We have the rollup as a service providers playing a key role in the AggLayer ecosystem. And we also do have a lot of contributors on the infrastructure side, like Espresso for shared sequencing, Union, connecting different ecosystems with the AggLayer ecosystem. We have partners on the contributors on the hardware side for ZK proving chips. In addition to Polygon Labs, we have a really strong cohort of contributors that are bought into the vision of AggLayer and actively are working on developing the roadmap and delivering. And obviously the last piece in the AggLayer ecosystem is the chains that are attaching to the AggLayer. Like I said, the more chains attach, the more network effects there are, and the more visible the value proposition of AggLayer becomes, which is native interoperability and asynchronous transactions between all of the AggLayer connected chains. There are interoperability solutions out there. We believe that AggLayer will stand out from the crowd in the sense that not only we have all the ecosystem around it that makes it different, but also leveraging ZK proofs, the interoperability, the assets across the ecosystem are in their native form, not wrapped form. And we believe that this will be a significant difference maker. So that's kind of like the 1 year vision. I would say in terms of 3 months, we have a enhanced version of CDK that we're rolling out, and this will be available in the docs and will be available to everyone to use from the get-go. This version took a lot of feedback from the CDK chains that are already out in the market and made some significant improvements. We have some really cool native features on the infrastructure side that makes interoperability more easy to use and understand for every chain. We do have also AggLayer. The first version of the AggLayer is a big part of this next version release that's coming out. All of the CDK chains that are launched will have native compatibility with the AggLayer and the option of being attached to the AggLayer. So I think that plays a pretty important role as well. Overall, super excited about what's coming in the next 3 months, and we will be highlighting these in various events. Most specifically in Thailand in the Dev Connect. There'll be a lot of showcases of what we've been working on in the past few months. So super excited to be collaborating with Zeeve as well. Zeeve is very much up to date about almost all of our roadmap, and like I said, one of the core contributors of the AggLayer. So yeah, excited about what's coming up.
Oh, thanks, Osman. Thanks, Idon. I think we too are very excited to be a Raas partner with Pentagon Games, and as well as partnering with as an official implementation partner with Polygon. And AggLayer is something that our team is very excited about, and I think we already have started having discussions as to how to take AggLayer proposition. Right now, it is more on the learning side, but then we are also exploring on the business side how to take AggLayer to a lot of different other app chain stacks, and then see how the whole cross-chain liquidity paradigm will pan out in the next few months. We are super excited to partner as well as invest further into these innovations. So with that, I would like to thank Idon and Osman for joining us today on the talk show. I think it was very exciting. Anyone who want to launch their own custom rollup using Polygon CDK, I think this session will be very important for them. We covered what different motivations are to launch your own chain, how Polygon CDK and AggLayer are helping startups, solve some of the massive challenges when they launch their high throughput chains, whether it be security, whether it be compliances using Validiums, or whether it be managing performance, scalability, instant finality, etc. So I think it was a very interesting session. I think it will be very useful for anyone who is listening or viewing this session. And with that, I would like to thank you again. Keep building, keep smiling.